From the age of 15 to 20, I was a homeless heroin addict. At 20, I really had like a death or change moment. My boyfriend passed away. At that time, we were addicts together the whole 5 years.
Wow.
And he overdosed. And at that time, I really didn't want to live. People become addicts because there is something they don't want to feel anymore. There's an underlining. There's a root cause. There is a root cause. Psilocybin, LSD, Ibogaine, they're not covering up what is going on in somebody. They're bringing to the surface the root of what is the issue, and they're bringing it so that it can be released.
The following information shared in this episode with Rachel Pastor is based on personal experiences and is for informational purposes only. We are not medical professionals. This is not medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your mental health or medication routine. Rachel, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to see you.
Oh,
it's been a long time.
How long has it been? I was just trying to figure this out.
Oh my God.
Like, when did we actually, I don't know that we have seen each other since you flew in for something. This is like,
I will say I don't.
Almost a decade ago.
Yes. No.
8
really?
years ago. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was before Chris and I divorced.
Yeah.
Which was like, started 5.5 years ago.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. It was right at the end there. Yep. It's been that long.
Wow. It's so nuts. Well, I'm really excited to have you here today. I already gave them a little intro of who you are, but, and I even mentioned that, do you remember how we met?
Oh yeah. I came to Denver.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You were one of our first official Powell Transformation Specialist certified trainers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that feels like 7 lifetimes ago, not even like a lifetime ago. That feels like so long ago.
That was, did I even have kids then? I don't know if I did.
So I think I was trying to think of the date today. Was that like 2011 or 12?
Okay.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Then I didn't.
The show was airing. Hold on. Cash was born in 2011. It must have been between that because Ruby was not yet born.
Yeah.
So how many kids did you have at that point? Did you have your kids?
I don't think I had any. No, I didn't have any by those dates. No. No.
Or maybe it was right after Ruby. I don't know. But it was.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was right after I had my first one, but it was somewhere around there. Anyway.
So, okay. So I meet you at, I don't know, we're just going to say 2012. I don't know. Could be 13, could be 11.
Yeah.
Could be,
somewhere in there.
Time is like in the 10s, in the 2010s, somewhere. At that point in your life, you were kind of like, you were a nutrition, a nutrition focused coach. Is that correct? Like
fitness and nutrition.
Yeah. Yep. So your background was fitness and nutrition. You have traveled this crazy, amazing path since I said in the intro, you and I not really lost contact, but we just hadn't talked for years. Right. And, I was obviously heavy into fitness and nutrition back in the day. We travel this path where then you come and you work for us at Transform and you are a coach. And as that kind of dissolves and we go our own separate ways, we're kind of traveling this similar path as we reconnected like a month ago. It was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How cool. So I'm really excited to have you here. So the listeners, my friends here listening, can, number one, get to know you because your story is so awesome. Like the story that you told from before I even met you and how you got to there, like all of these, I don't even want to call them pivots, but these evolutions of you are so beautiful. I want everyone to know this. And then I really am excited to dive into these modalities of healing that are just mind-blowing. And I'm going to say challenging to the way that we were raised and believed. We're going to talk about psychedelics today.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So can you first start by give us your background for people who are like, who the heck is Rachel? Who are you, Rachel?
Yes. So I remember talking about this and telling you and Chris my story when I did come to that training. And it really is what connected us. And so my path into getting into health and wellness really was around my own transformation, because from the age of 15 to 20, I was a homeless heroin addict. And at 20, I really had like a death or change moment. It really was in my life. Like my boyfriend passed away at that time. We were addicts together the whole 5 years.
Wow.
And he overdosed. And I at that time, I really didn't want to live, but I was like, I'm going to give it one last shot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had tried to clean up my life many times before. I really had. I had been on to methadone clinics, rehabs, all the things.
In your teens, so from 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had really tried to clean up during that time, but I ended up selling that car that I would sleep in. And I was able to get enough money to buy a one-way ticket to Hawaii. I packed what I had in a backpack, and I had a room there waiting for me. It was from a gal that she actually was an addict with us earlier on, and her mom pulled her out, moved them to Hawaii so she could get clean, and they were going to let me stay in their room. Went there on angel's wings, I always say, because I don't even know how I was able to get there.
I had chills.
Yeah, it just was. People ask me all the time, like, how are you actually able to do that? And I'm just like, the only thing I can think is like, God.
Yeah.
You know, it's a power greater than me, you know? So, got there. There was no methadone clinics there. There was nothing to count on as far as that goes. And I knew if I wanted to find anything, I was going to have to search really hard. And I never used again. That was, you know, I told myself when I got off the plane, I wouldn't, and I didn't. And, you know, I wish I could say it was like easy from there, just like anybody in a massive transformation. You're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to change my life and it's going to be great. And you're like,
and no.
Oh no.
It actually gets harder.
Yeah, it does. It does. So really I had to learn who I was.
Yeah. Because
all I knew myself to be was a heroin addict and that lifestyle and what I did every single day. And so I would literally go out onto the beach and just watch people live their lives and see what, you know, they did and how they lived. But I remember my boss at that time, her name was Mimi. She invited me to go to the gym. And when she invited me to go to the gym, I was thinking, who the hell would want to do that? That honestly sounded horrible. I'm like, go walk on the treadmill, go walk in place and watch TV. Like, that does not sound fun. But I also had no friendships. I had no healthy relationships. I just wanted somebody to hang out with.
Wow.
So I went with her. She like had this whole plan. She wanted to lose weight. And anyway, so we go walk on the treadmill. We're watching TV. We're talking. And it's great. Like, I enjoyed it because I had a connection. Right. And so
there was a human there.
Yes.
Interested in you as a person.
Yes. Yeah. And that was really what mattered to me. And then also turns out moving my body, I ended up leaving feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll go back again. and I got talked into going to a cycling class, and I get in there, I sit on the bike, you know, the lights go down, music goes up. And all I'm thinking is like, and instantly, if you're not used to that, your butt will hurt right away. It's awful. So they start pedaling away and you get into it.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, everybody's hooting and hollering and the music's going and you're like, yes.
You're at a rave.
Yes.
Without the drugs.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just like, but it turns out it felt like I did take a drug. And that's what got me. And that really became the mission in my life, because I left that place on cloud 9. I got in my car, rolled down the windows, and I'm just driving through Hawaii. And I'm like, whatever this drug is that I'm on right now, sign me up, because I'm bringing it to the world. And that became my mission, to bring this joy that I had found, to bring it to the world. And it was the endorphins. It was like this. I was like, I didn't even need to take a drug and I can feel amazing. How do we take this to the world? So I did that.
Bottle this and sell it.
Exactly. So that really got me into health and wellness. Like, I ended up moving back to Colorado. I went back to school. I started working in gyms, did all the different types of fitness modalities. And then I saw you guys were coming to Denver, and I'd been personal trainer for a while, and I applied to go, and went to go meet you guys, and that I told you my story, and it was really interesting because when everybody went around the room and kind of told their story, all great stories, but a very similar story. Like probably not the vulnerability behind why they actually became a trainer, because everybody, I feel like there's a story behind, especially when you're working in service.
Yes.
There's a story behind why. Yeah. And so when it came down to me, I was like, I'm just going to tell my story. Like, I was a heroin addict.
You remember that.
You guys are like, all right. Like, but
did
really.
Did Chris actually say that?
Chris?
Did he say, all right? Because I can see him saying that.
Basically, he was like, I totally connect with your story.
Yeah.
Like, he loved the vulnerability.
Oh, yeah.
And then shared some of his story. And so, yeah, so that really got me into the industry.
Yeah.
I work, as you know, I worked with you guys a couple of years later. Or was it like a year later?
It was
These
not
timelines,
long.
y'all.
Yeah,
I
know. I don't even know.
I don't know. But we during that time, I also started a huge fitness festival in Colorado.
I remember this.
Yes.
I never got around to doing it. Do you still do it?
No. So it was it was Break Free Festival.
Okay.
And it was it at the time, it was Colorado's largest fitness festival.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but at the time it was.
Wow.
And this was right around the time that, you and Chris were heading your separate ways.
Yeah.
And so I, at that time, was like, okay, I think I'm going to head my own way.
Yeah.
I kind of started doing my own online coaching stuff, and then had the festival, but something was already beginning to shift. And it's kind of like when you're in a transformation and something's starting to happen, slowly things will feel like they're just not going into place. Like they'll just, you'll feel resistance. It starts to feel like resistance. And so that's what I started to feel. Yeah. And I remember doing the last festival, which was in, I believe that was 2001. And I brought in a guy to do breath
21? 2021 or?
21.
I was going to say 01.
Not 01. Now we're taking it way back. So this is back before.
This is time travel.
Now we're time traveling.
Which I think might be a real thing. Okay.
Time doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's true. All right.
So 21. Yeah. And so I brought in this guy to do breath work, and I'm sitting up on the stage doing breath work.
So he's leading you in breath work.
The whole crowd.
Got it.
So we have all these people out there doing breath work.
Oh.
I'm on the stage doing breath work because I had already begun this whole shift. I had already switched into I was doing breath work and meditation and deep into
drug.
it.
Like not really a drug, but it is get a medicine like high.
Yes.
From breath
doing
work.
it. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. So I was already in a space of I don't think I can do a fitness festival anymore, because I was already doing so much meditation and so much inner work and so much breath work. And I was like, this needs to be more. I need to bring more to people, but I didn't know how to make that transition. So I just brought breath work, and all these people came to do it, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm up there doing the breath work, and I finish, and I just breathe out that, I hold my breath.
Yeah.
And I just felt my whole entire world crumble. And I was like, this is the end of whatever this version of myself has been, is ending right here. And that really, I ended that, and I ended everything. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I truly didn't. But I was like, God's sending me on a different path, and I'm going to trust that. I have no idea what it is. And so, I'll let you jump in here.
I relate to so many aspects of your story. First of all, we'll talk about the relating in a minute, but rewinding to when you were 15 to 20, when you had said, I think what you had said is, I didn't really know how to live life. So I would sit there and watch people live life. That's fascinating to think of, because I've never really stepped in your shoes in that way. But yeah, when you're 15 and you're inside of addiction already, Like that's such a young, vulnerable age. It becomes part of who you are. Like it's woven into your cloth. And so 20 to step away, I'm trying to imagine how a 20-year-old has the courage and the, I don't even want to say willpower or power. It's like it's not the power, not willpower, but to decide to make a decision like that. And a death can do that to you, but that just takes so much strength. And like the angel wings, it's a thing. And I think it carried you from that first moment. That's just so cool to think about and to see how old are you now?
I'm going to be 42. I'm 41.
Okay. So we're close to the same age. I'm 1 year older, but like to see you now, you've officially lived more than half or that duration of your life that was up until 20, you lived that all over again. And so it's just so cool to hear all of the things that you've done and how, I mean, just to hear even your background with I forgot about the festival, all of these things, but I can relate to the moment that you talk about where you're like, I know when you probably saw like chills when you said essentially what I was presenting on stage and who I was being to them wasn't who I knew I was in here. And I'm in that right now. I mentioned that to you over the phone the other day where I said, I don't quite know. I know the power of breath work and healing. I know the power of plant medicine. I do. I know the power of ketamine journeys. I know the science behind it now. I'm learning the science and I want to kind of talk about that today. But just, I know healing is so, and wellness is so much greater than what you put in your mouth and how you move your body. And I had said to you, I don't know how to reconcile it. Like, how do I make this side of the ledger match up with this side kind of a thing? Like because that part of my life, it's not like it's over, like I don't work out and I don't treat myself well, but it's just so, it's like the tip of the iceberg and underneath is something so much greater that I now have access to. And this is actually the first time in here on my podcast I've ever delved into any of this before. And I feel like it's still so new to me. So when you and I reconnected, I'm like, wait, what? Hold on. Tell me all of this. What's your mushroom company? What's all this stuff going on? I've never microdosed. I want to. So it's really cool. I also was watching, Oprah did a interview and I sent you the reel from it and I can't wait to listen to the interview. Andrew Huberman talks about this all the time, the power of ketamine and LSD and just psychedelics in general, MDMA and how it helps heal the brain. So I'm really excited. Like, number one, I relate to all the things you said. I love that you were able to identify that moment when it was over. And I love that like that moment for both of us has taken us to a similar, I'm going to say level of the Matrix. No, they're like, Heidi's really off her rocker. And honestly, listen, I've been diving into quantum physics. Did I send you a podcast yet?
Not on that. No.
I need to send you this podcast.
Okay.
It's a Joe Rogan one. This guy was on and it was like time is.
Okay. Not, I probably heard it because I listen to all those.
It was Rizwan. I don't know. It's fascinating though. Just like the idea that like, even when you take this couch here and my arm and that light, you can literally look at the matter under a microscope. Yes. Listen, you guys.
It's true.
When you take the matter of all the things I've referenced and you look at them under a microscope, they say the further you look, the fewer answers you have. Now because really it's like we're all it's just subatoms. Surrounded by nothing. Wait, what? So, but it's
I mean, that's science.
It is science.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would listen to this particular episode and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like I was in the car yelling, this is so cool. And I wanted to tell everyone about it.
I think we just don't think about it that often. That is true. That is science, but it's hard for our human brains to wrap around that, to like be like, oh, this is just particles. This is just, our human brains can't grab onto that all the time.
Okay, so now I've gone totally in another direction.
We can go all the way down the rabbit hole.
Okay. So back to, you have this moment where you are like, my life as I know it, so many aspects of it are, they're done. How do you make the transition from there to where you are now? And where are you now? Can you explain to us?
Well, I let it all go. And I was like,
so hard.
Let it all go. And I had just built an app. I had just done all these things, which during the whole entire time I was doing it, I was like, something inside me, like it was literally resistance after resistance. But I was like, doesn't make any sense. This is what I'm meant to do, you know, like keep fighting the surrender, you know? And then finally it was like, if you're not going to surrender, we will make you surrender.
There's a really great quote about that. That's something like, the universe will basically how the universe will remove the things from your life if you don't choose to do it yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's what happened.
Exactly.
So I have a question about that though. I want to know your thoughts. Sometimes people feel resistance. Like we think, oh, if I want to achieve this amazing thing, I need to be ready to battle resistance. How do you know the difference between you were just facing resistance in your businesses versus resistance that meant it's time to make a shift?
This is an age-old question.
So you're prepared.
Let me know when you find out. No, I would say now through filling out and being more connected to my own intuition, I would say that it feels more in alignment when you are doing like the thing that your heart and your soul is telling you to do and you're connected to. Like you feel excited to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you feel, even though there may be that resistance happening, you're like, you're excited about it. You're on fire for it. I really wasn't. I was just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I just knew deep down inside, I was like, and also I'm not enjoying this at all, you know, because the fire wasn't there anymore.
And I do know the difference between that. I have a couple things in my life now that I know aren't right. I know it. I'm not excited. There's resistance. Right. It makes me want to throw up to think about it. Right. And then there's the things where I'm like, man, I am so lit up by this. I don't know how it's supposed to happen, how it's going to happen. This is freaking hard, but I'm going to. Right. And that's kind of that's my intuition.
You explained it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think when somebody's not as tapped in to knowing how it feels in their body, I think it is harder to decipher, right? When you become more connected to your body, how you feel in your body, it is a little bit easier when something's coming towards you to know pretty quickly, oh, this doesn't feel good, or this is a heck yes.
Okay. I agree with you. How did you learn to feel inside of your body? Because there are people listening that are like, what the heck do they mean feeling inside of your body?
Awareness. Yeah. Awareness. And so becoming more aware of where, and also slowing down. Yeah. And taking out distractions and becoming more aware, looking at things from different perspectives, looking and feeling within myself, asking myself questions, asking myself the hard questions like, you know, why does this bring fear? Why do I feel this way? And like really feeling that in understanding myself. Yeah. But I do think it's something that's learned over time, but I do think that it takes, like I just said, awareness, removing distractions. When you're super duper distracted, it's a lot harder to be in the awareness of like, this is right for me or this is not right for me.
And by super duper distracted, like look like for me, staying overly busy with work or with kids. Is that similar to how it is with you?
Yeah. Just constant. Yep. Yeah. Oh, just constantly pushing the next thing, like not slowing down, always on your phone, always, you know, into the next. It's just constant distraction.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So you make the shift.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I make the shift. I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. And I had already been, in this meantime, I had become like really interested in how the mind works. And so I became a master of neurolinguistic programming.
And what year was this?
This was the same time that the festival this last year.
2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So became a master of neurolinguistic programming, was like totally into like, well, we can completely rewire our brains. Like we're and Joe Dispenza and meditation. And I just was like, I was just into, I think that is why, you know, I was being pulled in a different direction, but also why I couldn't get excited about what I was doing. Cause I was like, and let me tell you, I think fitness and nutrition is so important. So I don't want to, I never want to poo poo that or like say that's not good, you know, good enough or whatever, because it's so needed. But at the same time, I had learned so much more about what we're capable of that I was like, I was so much more excited about that.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And so,
what is NLP for someone who doesn't understand what that is?
Neuro-linguistic programming.
Can you explain it to some, like, if just quickly? What that
So neuro-linguistic programming. So essentially we, in the simplest way I could say is like, we all have files in our brains and we all have, these files based off of how we're programmed. So, you know, habits, behaviors, beliefs all have been programmed in there based on a certain experience that we've had in our lives. And so what you're doing with neuro-linguistic programming is you're going in there and you're basically taking out files and replacing them with new ones.
So cool.
But you're doing that through language. You're doing that through sight, smell, sound, because that's how we program into our brains. So like if we have a certain experience, you know, it could be through, remember it through the smell, through the sight, through the sound or something like that, that anchored it into our brain and filed it in. So,
Okay. So you got into that. And then how did you transition?
Yeah. So I was just like, but I was doing that, but I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this.
Yeah. You just know how to do it.
I just know how to do it. I just know how to do it.
Skill stacking.
Exactly. I wanted to help people with it. So I'd been really interested also in psychedelics because like once you get into all of that, I feel like psychedelics comes in. And so I got invited to go to Mexico to do ayahuasca.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. So ayahuasca was your first journey into psychedelics.
I had been microdosing before that.
Okay.
Microdosing psilocybin and so that's kind of how it started. Okay. So I was microdosing psilocybin, got invited to go do ayahuasca, went and did ayahuasca. And I had this, I mean, everybody has their own experience. You're going to get what you get. You know, you don't know ever what you're going to get. It's just what you need. Yeah. And basically, the first night I completely fought it. I was like, the moment I was about to go in, I was like, I basically got scared. Wow. And I pulled out.
So if mentally you're not in a place, because I have not done ayahuasca, and if anyone doesn't know what ayahuasca is, it's like ancient, what kind of, it's like medicine, like it's a root.
It's a medicine and it's a root. Yep. Yeah. Yep.
And how do you like take it in a pill format?
So, no. So the shamans will make it into a liquid and so you drink it.
You drink ayahuasca. And then how long? Because I mean, I've heard, and some people listening may be the same way. I've heard like varying stories of ayahuasca. I hear people that say it is the most like almost traumatic, dark thing. They've had dark souls come to them. And then I have a friend who's like, it was the most blissful, beautiful experience of my life. And what I've heard from a shaman that I use, she says that what is in you or what you need to see to heal is what shows up.
Exactly.
Is that true?
Yep. So I've had all the same stories.
Really?
People who have been like in bliss the whole time, which I'm like, I don't know what you're taking.
I didn't drink the same thing.
But
sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm going to drink a little water actually. Since you know that.
I'm so... Okay, go ahead. I'm so curious about your ayahuasca journey. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Okay, so the second night, I drank it. I knew right away. I was like, I'm going in.
What?
Yeah, I knew like I dropped in super duper fast, but I also had already talked to like, I was like, I'm going.
You were ready.
Yeah, I was ready.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hide from it. And I went in and I experienced all of the pain, all of the shame, all of the guilt. And through like, especially 15 to 20, like a lot of stuff had happened through that time, but also earlier on in ayahuasca, when you take the medicine, you will release things in different ways. So it could be shaking. It could be throwing up. It could be the other direction.
Really?
Yeah, it could be crying, but you will release things.
Okay.
And so, I was going through all these different parts of my life, and I would literally like look, basically best way to explain it, I would like look through the door. I would see that situation that I've been holding on to, like all the pain, all the shame, all the guilt, and I would like release it and it was gone. And then I went all the way through my life doing that.
Really?
Until I went all the way back to when like I was in my mom's stomach, and then
no way, you had a womb experience?
Yep.
I've been listening to those on podcasts. Really?
Yes. And then before I came to this earth, and it was like by the time I got to that point, I was like kind of in and out of this dark lightness, because when I was experiencing some of these hard things, it did feel hard. It did feel dark.
Yeah.
It also felt amazing because I would release them and I would move on from them. Wow. And so it felt like the most, but by the time I was done, I felt reborn, like completely reborn. It felt amazing.
Okay, so that's the experience that night.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder. It's like, okay, so you have an experience that night where you're purging and you're like, I'm letting go. Do you feel like that followed you back into reality?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Really? And
yes.
Can you explain how you know, or what has you feeling that way?
Yeah. So many of the things that I had felt all of this guilt and pain around for so many years, I really feel like I'd been carrying them in my body and not even realizing it. It brought me a next level of peace. Yeah. Like I truly felt and left and have continued to feel free from those things. There have been other things that I needed to work through, but really from that portion of my life, like that really is what I went there to work through. And I've really feel in a lot of ways truly disconnected from that version of myself, and that there was always felt like a small connection. It is even weird telling my story like I told everybody at the beginning, because I don't feel any connection to that being anymore. So yeah,
I get that. Because when I've healed something fully, I struggle to connect to that version of me. So like there was the eating disorder version of me, which was so long in my life. It was 15, 20 years when we're talking about dysmorphia. Yeah. As it's healed more and more, I have a hard time relating even to people going through it, because I'm so far disconnected.
Right.
And then there are a couple other experiences in my life that I have not talked about publicly that as I healed through. One of them was a shaman guided psilocybin journey. The most insane thing in the most beautiful way. I thought I had forgiven myself for this thing. And I didn't realize how it was still woven into the fabric of so many areas of my life, and how I was around people and with myself, how I spoke to myself. And inside of the journey, this came up. And what I would explain is I was the guilt. I was the shame. Like I didn't experience guilt and shame. I was guilt. I was shame. I was sadness. I was the tears. I was not just for me, but for the people I hurt. Like it was like I was brought in, where I swear it was a God thing. Like he brought me in and said, look, it was like, you hear those near-death experiences where they're like holographic, they say, and you're not only faced with what you did and seeing that, but you actually have a peek in to how that impacted. So say someone killed a man, you, like they say, a near-death experience of the killer would be like, you would actually see how you affected the family and the child and the like you're actually living. I felt like that was me inside of my journey. Like I was like inside of how I hurt different people. And the whole, like, there was a theme of my journey, which was consequences. I mean, it was the most, I will say this, I did not go in thinking it was going to be easy. Cause I went in, I met the shaman, introduced by a friend, was told this is going to be like one of the hardest things, and only do this if you're ready, because the medicine will show you what you need to see. Like it will bring to you the lesson that you're meant to learn. And it was the hardest 8 hours of my life. I remember by the end of the night, I had said to the shaman, I said, I think I've seen enough. I don't think I can see anymore, because it was so much. And in hindsight, it was the most powerful teaching experience I've probably ever had. It was the place that I first saw myself as beautiful, not for my face, but my heart. Like I truly believed I was beautiful after that experience. I've never not felt, I know that it exists now. I know that we all have this, like, I see people different. Like people are physically, the more I heal myself, and after this journey, people are physically more beautiful to me. Like I can see someone and be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How is she so beautiful? And like, someone's like, they look the same. And I'm like, but it's when you are healing, you actually kind of heal the people around you. Like it's this really cool leveling up thing. So
I love that. And I connect so deeply to that in that, one of the biggest things when I left the ayahuasca experience, when you asking me, how did I really know that, or how did it stick with me, or I was shown that we came into this world like perfect and worthy. And that never left me. And I felt like I've heard that before, and I've heard people post quotes about it, and I'm like, yes, but it's different when you feel.
When you experience it.
You experience it, and you know it is the truth.
Yes.
It is just the truth.
Yes.
And you like, and so leaving that, knowing that completely changed my life.
Wow.
But it does change the way that you see things, how you see others.
Yeah.
And so,
I love that. Okay. So I'm going to rewind just a little bit, because we kind of brushed by, and for like, I've heard lots of microdosing stories. These are mushrooms from your company, Golden Rule Mushrooms, and you help people safely microdose. So can you explain what had you start microdosing? Can you explain how are mushrooms safe, right? Can you kind of like dive into that a little bit?
So I started microdosing psilocybin, and just so you know what microdosing is, it's taking a subperceptual amount of a substance.
Does subperceptual mean very little?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Good question.
Okay.
So it means very little.
Okay.
But it also means, so you could like microdose. The thing with saying the word microdosing, we can microdose so many things, right? It's just taking a small amount of something. With this in particular, though, you really shouldn't feel it, meaning that you don't feel high. You're never going to trip.
Because I know a lot of people have been scared of that. Like, okay, I can't go throughout my day high on mushrooms, but you're not really high on mushrooms.
No, it's such a small amount that you should, and not even like maybe, you should be able to do any daily activity. Okay. Pick up your kids, take care of your kids, drive, do all the things. It's taking a very small, so some people would be like, well, how do I even know that I took anything?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the time people they'll notice like they feel lighter.
Okay.
They feel like a release in stress. They'll feel happier, more joyful, more present.
Almost like taking magnesium a little bit.
More like connected, calm. And aware.
Okay.
And aware.
Cool.
Yeah. So I really started working with that in that, I think I was interested in one, I still was suffering from some like anxiety, fear stuff
Yeah.
that was coming through
Yeah.
for me. So that was number one. And number two, just knowing all the research and study behind it. There's so much research behind
about that
psilocybin and LSD, behind these psychedelics. That's why you are seeing them pop up in I mean, so many different states are voting on legalization right now. But helping people with PTSD, OCD, anxiety, depression, but also people take them for wellness. They're taking them for, really being at peak performance, for better focus, for really being more empathetic, more loving, right?
So I've heard quite a bit about microdosing mushrooms or psilocybin. And so that it's kind of that stigma against mushrooms has kind of dwindled away. I've also had my experience with a shaman where I thought, now hearing about the microdosing of LSD, which is essentially acid, right?
Yes.
As a kid, we are told that like, if you do acid, your brain's going to fry. Like I knew people that were like, yeah, they did acid when they were kids. So they're kind of an idiot now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, not that I said
there
this,
is a stigma around it. Yes.
So how can someone, okay, so number one, the whole idea of LSD is newer to me. So I'm really curious about that. How can someone, like, what do you have to say to someone who's sitting here going, this is bad. Like, I can't believe they talk. Like, what do you have to say to someone who's really struggling with the idea that this is even?
Well, I would tell them, first of all, do your studies. Like, go really look at all the amazing studies out there. John Hopkins has one of the best studies I've seen.
We should load the show notes with links to
we absolutely can. I have all the best studies.
Check the show notes. We'll have the best studies in there by highly reputed people, reputable people that will.
I mean, Tony Robbins talks about the John Hopkins study all the time.
So tell me about this.
It blew SSRIs.
Okay, so that was a question. What had you choosing mushrooms over SSRIs? Which, guys, SSRIs are like antidepressants that everyone takes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay? Yeah.
And we're finding out that that's more unhealthy.
Right.
Than psilocybin
it just
or LSD.
It doesn't work as well.
What?
It doesn't work as well. So in the John Hopkins study that Tony Robbins talks about, but you can just go look at the John Hopkins study. But if you do search it, Tony Robbins, John Hopkins study, you can see him break it all down. But it blew the SSRIs out of the water. The psilocybin did in people taking it. So the results were far greater than taking an SSRI. So actually, the SSRI didn't even beat out the placebo.
So, and this is with people microdosing mushrooms. So you're saying someone who
this was actually on a larger psilocybin,
like a hero dose.
I don't think they took a hero dose. I believe in the study it was somewhere between 2 and 3 grams.
Okay, and because the hero
dose is like 5. Okay, yeah.
So 2 grams. We did 2 grams. When our shaman did 2
which
grams
is a good amount.
I was. I wanted to say tripping balls. But really you're not. I was in it.
Yes, you're in it.
I was in it. It was like lesson after lesson was smacking me in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, so really, like one time with a 2 to 3 gram dose.
Yeah.
Beats an SSRI consistently per this study.
This study and many other studies.
Wait,
many other studies. Yeah.
I want you guys to hear that. If anyone's listening right now who's on an SSRI, I want you to consider that maybe there's another way. And I would even venture to say from some of the things that I've read that psilocybin long-term is better for your brain than being on an SSRI consistently.
Absolutely. Well, what psilocybin's doing is it's going there and it's really working through neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So it's making your brain more moldable.
Moldable?
Is that a word? Is that
It is. More moldable.
More moldable. So you got that going on. And in that you're being able to so it's also creating out new neural pathways, right? So we're all living in the same loops over and over and over again, right?
Everywhere in my life.
Yes.
How I do anything is how I do everything.
Yeah. We all are. And that's just the way the human brain is set up. It's like it's trying to keep us using the least amount of energy possible, right? So once we learn how to drive a car, we just, you don't think about it, do you?
No,
you just get in the car and
drive. Usually to Starbucks,
right? Because your brain, right? And hers is programmed to go to Starbucks.
For real.
So you're just constantly living in those. So what psilocybin is doing is going in there and it's creating your brain to be able to create the new neural pathways, right? So you can create new experiences, create new habits, behaviors, beliefs. And at the same time, we have this thing called the amygdala.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah. So it's like an almond shake.
Yes.
I say my A's wrong sometimes. So
I thought, or there's no right or wrong.
Okay.
We know that.
Well, there isn't any right or wrong. You're right. But people will be like, what did you just say? I'm like, I said bag. They're like, what? Like, yes, I
think it's perfect.
Yeah. So that's how I say it. But it's like kind of almond shaped. Mm-hmm. And this is really responsible for our fear response. So also what psilocybin is able to go in there and do is it is really helping the fear response. Basically, it's relaxing that. Wow. So you are no longer really in the same fears and the stresses that we keep like going back to. Right. Exactly.
Which for me, when I'm there, I'm in that amygdala hijack or whatever.
Right.
That's what my coach called it, that taught that to me. Mm-hmm. When I'm there, I react like everything I start reacting to is based on fear. Right? Which then blocks so much for me. I start shutting down and building walls and cutting people out and protecting and self-preservation. So yeah, if I could relax that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really slowing that down. So you're not like in that fight or flight. Right. So people that's a lot of what people feel like when I just said they're feeling more light.
Yeah.
More relaxed. Right. They're not in that constant fear, stress state. As well as this working on the default mode network.
Okay.
So for and LSD works the same. So even though I keep saying psilocybin, LSD works the same. But LSD is really, really great in this area for people. So the DMN, essentially what it's doing is
what's DMN?
Oh, so the default mode network.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry. So the default mode network, it's really slowing that down. Okay. So that really is where people are overactively thinking.
Okay.
Right. So their brain is just going like crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's slowing that down to help people. And that's why they feel more present. Right. You're able to slow that down. You're not constantly having those thoughts going over and over and over again. It really is helpful to, again, that's going to make you feel more peaceful. Yeah. But also that's why people feel more focused, right? Because they're not jumping around from thing to thing to thing. They're focused on because their thoughts are slowed down.
Wow. Okay, so that's mushrooms or psilocybin. Is LSD, I remember you were explaining to me that maybe psilocybin and mushrooms or psilocybin/mushrooms are better for calming anxiety, that stuff. And maybe LSD is good for people with ADHD.
Yeah.
Explain that because I
always
ADHD,
think that I always call like psilocybin like the serotonin.
Okay.
So it can be more inward in some ways. It can be a little more peaceful, a little more, and not that LSD isn't peaceful. I mean, it's very happy.
Charismatic.
Okay. It's like, I'm gonna.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So I'd be more charismatic than I am.
Yeah, you already are. I actually was thinking about that, and I was like, I can't see.
She doesn't need to microdose LSD.
She's already the life of the party. So, but yeah, it does make people a little more like outgoing.
Okay.
But it also helps with ADHD a lot. Okay. So people are replacing their ADHD medications with microdosing LSD.
So I wonder then, okay, so someone I know, which you'll meet tonight,
Okay.
is a little more inward.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wonder if microdosing LSD is something that would be good
Yeah, people notice themselves to be like more chatty and more like, just
Interesting.
outgoing.
Oh, cool.
But also people notice something similar on psilocybin in that they feel like they're able to connect more with people and like maybe, they feel like it relieves social anxiety.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So relieving social anxiety for psilocybin. What are some other benefits if you had to list them for people listening? Like, hey, is microdosing for me? What would you say?
Oh man. I mean, it's going to work on every aspect of you, but let me tell you this. Because we're talking about SSRIs and psilocybin, and one thing that people may not like about it is that it's going to allow you to feel.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And we've been numbing for so
long.
With food, with shopping, with sex, with whatever, work.
Yep. Exactly.
Substances.
Yep.
Like alcohol.
Yes. Yeah.
And so to say I'm getting off of alcohol and I'm going to start microdosing, hoping this helps. Hold on. Now I'm feeling for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. I crave feeling.
Yeah.
I want to feel.
Yeah.
Like,
same.
But for somebody even coming off of like comparing it to an SSRI, SSRIs do, for some people, help them make them feel better because you're not really feeling anything. They're numbing you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this like psilocybin is incredible because it is bringing everything to the surface and allowing you to release it. And you are feeling lighter and you are feeling, because you're not just feeling bad.
Yeah. You're feeling
good. Life.
Yeah.
You're feeling good.
Yeah.
You're feeling all the goodness that life has.
Yeah.
And also in that, again, there may be things that are stored in your body and traumas and things that are stored that need to come up and out for you to also feel even better.
Yep.
And so to know that is like, yes, that also is one of the benefits of it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it, that's not a bad thing about it. That's an amazing thing about it.
And it might be hard for someone who's not used to feeling.
Right. Exactly. And that is why they really encourage having guidance.
Because I was going to say, how can people make sure that they do it safely? Because anything, food can be nourishment or it can destroy you, right? Like everything on this planet. How do we make sure we do this responsibly? I love hearing guidance. Do you guys offer some kind of guidance?
We do. We do.
Okay.
We offer guidance, and then and so we have educational programs and a coach that you can reach out to. You can email us and ask any questions, but also we 3 times a year run a program where for 30 days we basically hold people's hands through the process.
So cool.
But also there are therapists out there that are doing this, and I highly recommend finding them because there's therapists who will work with you for over a longer period of time.
Yeah. Take
you through larger guided sessions. Yeah. So that in Colorado right now, they're rolling out, and that's where I live.
Yeah.
As you know.
Yeah.
You probably don't know that. But rolling out therapeutic centers right now where they are going to be offering these larger journeys and microdosing and having a whole bunch of therapists to work with. So I absolutely encourage that.
Okay.
You don't have to do that.
Okay.
But especially with microdosing, because it is a lighter amount. But if you're going to do like a bigger journey and you've never done that, just like you worked with a shaman.
Yeah. Which was, I don't know if I could have done it any other way. I'm glad I had that guidance.
Yes.
I felt safe. I was terrified going into it. I didn't know if it was the right thing for me to do. I was confronted with like my religious, things that I was brought, like, is this good? Is this bad? It's of the earth. All these things going through my mind. And then ultimately going, okay, my intention is to heal.
Mm-hmm.
God hears me knowing I
Mhm.
want to heal. I'm not going into this to throw a party.
Right.
And I went in and I healed, but that shaman, the guidance helped me feel safe. Cause there were moments where I'm like, this isn't, like, I don't know if I'm okay, but it was my body trying to control, my mind trying to control the experience the same way I try to control everything in life.
Yeah.
So to have someone to be able to say, no, this is a normal reaction was what I needed. So yes, I'm all for the guidance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's really good that we do talk about that
Yeah.
part. We do have people who microdose all the time in that they, you know, maybe go through like all of our videos watching of exactly how to do it and knowing, because integration is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't microdose every single day.
Yeah.
You'll microdose maybe 4 days on, 3 days off. There's 1 day on, 2 days off, one day on, 1 day off. But the reason is that you need time to integrate the changes that have been created because it's not, you're not just taking a vitamin B. I mean, this thing is going in and it's like rewiring your mind.
Yeah.
You know, so taking time to integrate, but also setting intention with it because it is, you want an intention with it. If it's going to go in there and it's going to open up your mind, right? Be able to see things from different perspectives and create these new neural pathways. Where do you want it to go?
Yes.
What do you want it to do?
Yeah.
So learning how to set intentions because sometimes people are not sure how to do that, right? But it really is important in being intentional in it. So they're, you know, when people are intentional, when they're, you know, allowing themselves to set those intentions, but also integrate the lessons that have been learned and they're consistent with microdosing, they always get the most out of it. So like 30 days is enough time to know if it's right for you.
Okay.
90 days is how long you want to microdose to really see changes.
So it's almost like you can't just do it for a day and say, oh, this isn't for me. I didn't feel anything. Are you saying that there's like a buildup as time goes on?
100%.
Which is
it's
what
building
I heard about
up.
ketamine from Andrew Huberman. They say like 6 sessions in 2 weeks creates like a momentum. Is it similar where like
that's exactly it.
A momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. So you are building it up and it is creating more of those changes over time. But yeah, it's definitely not a just take, you might feel on the first one, you might feel like, whoa, I feel so much lighter.
Yeah.
But you're going in for the long term.
Not the thing that you're not the instant gratification.
No. You're going into, you want to feel like that, like you felt right then? All the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. So if someone's interested in learning more about this, do you have a website? How do they look at their stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. You could go to Golden Rule Mushrooms and goldenrulemushrooms.com.
Okay.
Or you can email hello@goldenrulemushrooms.com.
Okay.
And
I'll put it in the show notes too.
You can get all of your questions answered.
Okay.
And really the educational piece, helping people know what's right for them. There's also a quiz on the website. But you know, ultimately, you know, this is every single day we receive emails from people on it, how it's profoundly changed their lives. They were maybe the alcoholics no longer saved their marriage. Were on SSRIs, felt completely numb, not motivated, you know, felt just kind of just going through life, going through the motions, decided to do this. And now are like living in purpose, so happy, feeling so free, postpartum depression, really being able to, you know, in motherhood, going into that first time, maybe at first baby, second baby, like we all know that time afterwards and really being able to find themselves again and feel that joy again. And, oh my gosh, so many veterans, PTSD, and then just people who are like, you know, rockin' entrepreneurs and just, I mean, moms who are so amazing and living in their purpose of raising their children and really also at the same time trying to connect with who they are.
Yeah.
And like it really being so life-changing for them.
And I love that you just laid out all the people that this might be for. And I want you guys to really hear this list, because it might be you or someone that you know, but people with PTSD, people with depression, with anxiety, with an unknowing of what is next or what their purpose is or who they are. I love that you said alcoholics and addicts. And that was something I said in my intro. You weren't here for that, but like, it's just fascinating to me that people who have addiction and alcoholism can actually help cure that.
Yeah.
Through these alternative medicines, these plant-based medicines, which actually leads me to, I want to ask you a final question. And then I know we're over an hour now. I knew this was going to happen. I could do this for 3 more hours because there's so much in this. There's so many threads to pull on. You and your story, I think it's so fascinating to know that you had a history of addiction in a pretty severe way, as you painted the picture at the beginning of this episode. And through your life, you've traveled this path that has led you from, I'm going to say, prior, they were drugs, right? To now, medicine, right?
Yeah.
I think the thought that I can imagine is going through the minds of the people listening, and a thought that I wonder, like a question, a curiosity that I have. How, with addiction, can somebody feel comfortable crossing the line into plant-based medicine, things that we were told were drugs as a child, without risking falling back in? And so how did you do that?
Oh, I have chills. I was like, I hope we get to talk about this.
Good.
I hope we get to talk about this.
This is the question I brought up in the intro.
Yes, this is, so when I overcame my heroin addiction, I physically overcame it. But I was still an addict in so many ways, mentally and emotionally. So essentially how I personally feel about addiction in my own journey with it is that people become addicts because there is something in their life that, whether it be anxiety, depression, a trauma, something they don't want to feel anymore. Like they just, and they're covering it up through eating or through drinking or doing heroin, and that was so true for me. I was in massive anxiety. I was depressed. I remember the first time I did heroin, I was like, this is it, because I didn't have to feel that way. Right.
Yeah.
And that is so true for all addiction. Like it really, there's an underlining, there's a root cause. There is a root cause. And so, in later on, through my journey, it was like, okay, I'm no longer physically addicted, but there was the mental and emotional, the trauma that I still needed to work through of why I became an addict in the first place.
Or you're going to find another addiction.
Exactly.
Whether it's work or counting your macros.
And I was, Heidi.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
I was addicted to work. I was addicted to all those things. Yeah. I was just living in that.
Yep.
And so I really... the medicine changed that.
Okay. Wow.
And it changed that because it uprooted for me.
Yeah.
Like I told you in the ayahuasca ceremony, like all of these things that I had been hanging on to, it brought it all to the surface and I was able to release it. Psilocybin, LSD, Ibogaine, like all of these things that are out there that are really helping people in these ways. Yeah. They're not covering up what is going on in somebody. They're bringing to the surface the root of what is the issue, and they're bringing it so that it can be released.
So pharmaceuticals are numbing what is there or masking, they're band-aiding. Where these plant medicines are saying, let's dig to the root, let's find the infection, let's bring it up so we can decide if we want to clean it out or not, and allow it to heal.
And and bring us all to this place of realizing that we are all perfect and worthy as is. Like with that none of this stuff that we picked up along the way is who we are. And I want to add that psilocybin, I mean, it's non-addictive.
Yeah.
It's scientifically proven that it is non-addictive.
Really? Okay, good to know. Psilocybin / mushrooms, not
it's not
addictive.
It's not physically addictive.
Actually,
so yeah.
There we go.
It's not physically addictive. So like alcohol, heroin, things like that, food.
Yep. Sugar. Yes.
That's
addictive.
all physically addictive, meaning that your body craves it
and
when it does.
And
yes,
psychologically.
yes, it craves it when it does not have it. This is proven that it is not. So I guess in that aspect, you also can't become physically addicted to it. So
how cool, to think that God created substance on this earth, so many, right? Food, all the things that we're thinking of. And then some that for ages and ages we would frown upon and be told they're bad, right? And ultimately, those are kind of the things that are healing in so many ways. I love reading.
Well, they've been used through ancient eons, right?
Yeah.
And now we're just coming back to natural medicines.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone's listening right now, and they're hearing you say that this could actually help with. So maybe they're an alcoholic or an addict, or they were, and they're a little bit nervous. What's their first step?
Start researching it for sure. And look up the Johns Hopkins study.
Which we're going to link.
Yeah. And we're also going to link a page where you can get a whole bunch of studies, but also really resources where you live.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. So you can be hooked into different treatment centers or therapists or all of that. And also into the legality of it all where you live. So I'm going to plug you into that and you can share it with everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We are completely out of time.
Okay.
This was the best conversation, Rachel. I love you. This is the best way to see you after so many years. How can people find you, number one? Well, go ahead and answer that. How can they find you?
So they can find me at rachel.pastor on Instagram or rachelpastor.com.
Perfect. And then final thing, just feel your heart. What is one thing you feel like, I don't even want to say women, the individuals, the humans, the souls listening to this right now need to hear from you before we go?
If you are listening to this, you were meant to listen to this. Nothing happens by accident. This message came for you or for somebody that you know who it could profoundly impact.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
I love you. All right, you guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I hope there was something beautiful that you connected to in this podcast. Don't forget to go follow Rachel. Go check out her goldenrulemushrooms.com to kind of get more information on how this may or may not be something that can serve you. Check out the show notes. If this is an episode you found fascinating, please share it, and I'll see you next time.